What up, HyperChange? Welcome to another episode of Investing 101. Mixing it up this week, going right into something totally crazy. I've been on a kick trying to learn more about Ethereum, just fascinated by this new cryptocurrency blockchain technology. So wanted to fill you guys in on it. Before we get started, just want to make it super clear that I'm a finance nerd. I am not an engineer. I don't fully understand how Ethereum works. I'm not an expert by any means in this space. I made this episode to just share all of my ideas. It's going to be all over the place, off the wall, why I'm so amped about this new technology. So let's go. For those of you guys who don't know, a quick background, Ethereum is a technology that's based on the blockchain, very similar to Bitcoin, although it's not a currency, it's more of a token. It was developed in 2013 by a 20-year-old by the name of Vitalik Buterin. He was a dropout at the University of Toronto, got a $100,000 grant from Peter Thiel to go do his own thing. That thing was Ethereum, and here we are today. He's only 23 years old. There are 96 million Ether in circulation, trading at about $300 per token. That puts the current market capitalization or network value of Ethereum at about $30 billion. That makes them the #2 most valuable cryptocurrency behind Bitcoin, which is at its current 7,000 price, trading at a market capitalization of about $120 billion. So why is this fascinating to me? Why was I excited enough about this? I'm just gonna get to the point here. Bitcoin is digital gold. I made an episode about why I think this is, and this is a fascinating value proposition as a technology, and I think digital gold has tremendous utility, and I think Bitcoin has a bunch of value that way. Ether is digital oil. It's trust. It's how to get things done in the digital economy. What does that mean? Ethereum is a lot more complex and nuanced and therefore flexible than Bitcoin. It has the ability to execute these things called smart contracts. Basically, think about it like this. Let's make a bet. I think your team's gonna have less than 100 fantasy points this week. You think it's gonna have more. We each put 1 Ether into a smart contract. Then when the score, which is hooked into that contract, determines, okay, we got 105, well, I lost the bet. The smart contract distributes the money to you. It was decentralized. There was no third party. There was no intermediary. There was minimal fees. It happened. It was secure. This is the potential of this is staggering across so many industries. I think the potential for it to be bigger than Bitcoin is very real if this takes off as the background operating system for all decentralized blockchain apps, which it looks like it's starting to become, or at least get a majority market share in. What do I mean here? dApps, decentralized apps. Think of the Apple iOS store. When you have an application, that is what people are building on top of Ethereum right now. None of them are out, none of them are working, none of them have traction, but VCs are funding this. Some of the smartest people in the world are dropping everything they can to build applications on top of this new smart contract Ethereum technology. Beyond that, you have Vitalik Buterin leading a team of people on the Ethereum Foundation, constantly recoding, upgrading, improving the technological capabilities and prowess of this EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, that is the core backbone of this technology. And this is the biggest reason that I'm fascinated by Ethereum over Bitcoin. Bitcoin was founded by Satoshi Nakamoto, an anonymous guy nobody knows. Vitalik Buterin exists in real life as far as I can tell. He's doing interviews with TechCrunch. He is out there actively coding this thing, pushing the limits of it to make it better consistently. There was just in Cancun, DevCon 3, Vitalik's there. All the smartest people involved in the Ethereum community meet up, figure out how they're gonna advance the technology, and they all own a ton of Ether, probably millions of dollars worth. They're directly incentivized to make this take off. They're giving out Ether and funding startups to build dApps on their Ethereum platform. We are in the early days of potentially seeing a mega disruptive monster in the making. The weakest part of my thesis here is I don't understand how this is actually gonna take off and look in a real world to a consumer very well. And I think we're still a couple years out from actually seeing Ethereum have a lot of value, from actually having the tokens be useful as a way to actually pay for things or get things done in the digital economy and really be that digital oil. We're still a long ways away from that, but you could imagine the potential of that digital oil is multi-trillions dollars, depending on which markets they disrupt, how fast this happens, how scalable the technology is. The potential is staggering though. That is why when I look at Ethereum today, which has about 96 million coins in circulation at about 300 a coin. That's a 30 billion market cap, 1/4 of Bitcoin. You know, if I look at it as a $1 trillion opportunity, then we still have an absurd upside from today's prices if this takes off. That being said, much of today's market cap and price is based on speculation, not utility. So it's super important to note, Ethereum is risky as hell. This thing could flop. It doesn't really have real use cases that are making it worth anywhere near 30 billion today. It's all speculation about who's building on it, what the traction that will get, what industries will get disrupted, and how much money the tokens will be worth when that happens. Totally speculative, but you have to remember that if that speculation becomes true, this has multi-trillion-dollar potential, and that's why people are already bidding it up to a $30 billion market cap. Now you may say, oh, how many Ether are there in the world? Like, is there a supply? Like Bitcoin has a cap supply of 21 million. Ether, there's currently about 96 million in circulation, as I've been saying. This is up from about 87, 88 million at the beginning of the year. They're going to continually dilute to incentivize miners, but I don't think it'll be much more than 10% per year, 15% per year, and that number could go down. So it's really important to take that into account, that just because there's 96 million Ether today doesn't mean that's what there always will be. I'm personally in my models assuming 200 million Ether because I think that buys me 3 to 4 years worth of dilution, and just trying to be conservative here. Based on those numbers, at 300 per token, we're looking at a $60 billion market cap. So even once again, you know, I would argue 98, 99% of that value is speculation. The only utility, the only real application, if you could even call it one for Ethereum, is this ICO craze. Everybody's raising hundreds of millions of dollars through these initial coin offerings, which most of which are built on this Ethereum blockchain. So that's really cool. That's disrupting the VC industry in a lot of ways, and shows like scratching the surface of Ethereum working in the real world. But I actually think a lot of that's going to backfire, because a lot of these ICOs are scams and people are going to get hurt, and it could lead to a massive deflation in crypto for a year or two, but whatever. Okay, one more thing about Bitcoin to Ethereum. Ethereum's transaction volume, which is a big number I track, how many transactions happening on the network, and this is from a website called Etherscan. Do I know if it's accurate? Not really, but check this out. Ethereum's transactions are now between 400 to 500,000 per day in the last couple of months. To put things in perspective, Bitcoin's transactions per day are only about 200,000 to 350,000. So if these are comparable at all, the Ethereum network is actually seeing more transactions per day on its platform than Bitcoin is, and the rate of growth of those transactions is growing way faster than Bitcoin. And remember, Ethereum's only trading at 30 billion, Bitcoin is trading at 120 billion, but Ethereum has more transactions. So that to me is hard data that's showing me that this is taking off and working, and that people are using it more and more. So that's a stat I would track. I'm gonna put the links. Coming at you guys with a little more data that gets me super excited about Ethereum and why this is taking off. Starting in 2017, there was under 1 million unique Ethereum addresses, or like wallets or Ethereum accounts. There was only about 950,000 accounts to start 2017. Today, that number is about to hit 10.6 million. That's right, 2017 has been more than a 10-bagger already in the amount of unique addresses associated with Ethereum. That is absurd. Just to put things a little more in perspective, you guys, even in the last month, the growth has been astronomical. There was only 8.7 million accounts or unique addresses as of a month ago. As of November 7th, that number is 10.6 million. So literally in the last month alone, almost 2 million new unique addresses have been created for Ethereum. I mean, this is just taking off like crazy. So that's just one more hard data point that makes me think traction's increasing, and that's gonna be one chart that I'm gonna follow super closely, along with the amount of transactions. Now, to wrap it up, I am just stoked and like unbelievably fascinated by the potential of Ethereum, this concept of it being digital oil and being the backbone, and its tokens being able to facilitate all types of transactions on the internet for moving digital assets, you know, whether it's a home, whether it's a stock you bought, whether it's a contract, whether it's some sort of service agreement, whether it's a bet, whether it's, you know, anything, whether it's determining futures for energy markets, whether it's determining futures for data storage. And my mind goes crazy when I think about the use cases for this technology. I'd love to know what you guys think. If you have any ideas on the furthest along consumer-facing application for Ethereum, what gets you excited about this? What did I do a bad job of explaining? What should I take more time on to learn more about? I'm just trying to learn as much as I can, share my journey with you guys as I dive into cryptocurrencies. I love Ethereum. I only own like a super micro amount because, as you guys know, I'm pretty broke. I'm funding HyperChange myself, but I had to do it. I'm like not even close to wrapping my head around this whole thing, but there's just something in my gut that tells me this is exciting as hell. This is gonna be huge. We have someone who's 23, who's one of the smartest people I think like that I've ever seen speak, that has such a mind-bogglingly good understanding of this. I'm like 50% convinced that Vitalik is an alien, but the fact that he is leading the charge with the Ethereum Foundation, has smart developers working with him to continually push the Ethereum virtual machine to improve, to do more transactions per second, which gives it more use cases, I think is a huge tailwind that Bitcoin doesn't have, that I think a bunch of other these cryptocurrencies and ICOs just aren't as established. They don't have the team. I'm looking at this as like a startup run by Vitalik. Buying an Ether token is like a never expiring call option on the project that Vitalik is building. There is no end date to this. My tokens will last forever. If this thing is successful, I can make 10, 20, 30, 50 times my money from today's prices. If it does hit a multi-trillion-dollar market cap, that's the upside I'm seeing. Sure, maybe I could lose all my money, but it's crazy and it's exciting enough for me to take a chance. If you never take risks and you never go into the unknown, you'll never learn anything new. That's why I'm taking a dive into Ethereum. This whole thing could flop. It could be a bigger bubble than the tulips, or I can't even fathom where this could go. And that is so exciting to me. So that's HyperChange. That's my wrap up on why I had to buy Ethereum. This is Investing 101. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.